Welcome, welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D collective. We began today with a short on our lovely Dharma and being yourself people. So when you're navigating ascension energies in Dharma means you're using the integrated brain of you, and it also means that you're using the open-heartedness of you. So it's a securely attached, non-traumatized person. Why non-traumatized? Because you can metabolize, means emotions, sensations, images, thoughts, feelings, with ease. Not with, ugh. Okay, so yes, we all have emotions, but they don't hit home like your sympathetic. Okay, so modulated and dysregulated embodied people, they are the ones who still have a window of tolerance that's small and not expanded window of affect to affect or something like that. So Janina Fisher is mentioning it. I am lucky. I have, again, a body that is here, and she's an empowered feminine with an open heart, and I have a mind and a brain, and it's an empowered masculine, and that's why the 5D mystic, spiritual, and mindful, self-empowered, enlightened human being, functional child, adult can tell you all about expanding consciousness during every single one of the ascension energies since 2007 is when I began my mysticism journey and spirituality awakening and expansion. And the 3D-4D, they ain't going anywhere. So they're actively going to maintain the lower frequency and stagnate in it, which really is shame, blame, fault, revenge. And those are all traumatized human beings who disregard going to get their trauma therapy with somebody like Patrick Tian or Terry Real, because that's the split. So the split, I didn't really think of it too much until I was like, you know what, let me share the food for thought with my community so that they can begin to understand 3D-4D. I mean, they're not going to become their whole self. So get ready to rumble and roll with facade people. I got plenty of them. Don't believe me. Ask my facade friend. No, he doesn't know who he is because we're not rude. So when I meet people who have low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive aggressive, I don't need to do shit. I know healthy boundaries, which is why I'm not distant enough to be saluted. I had a good time. I'm not here to impose on you that you get into your healthy restorative embodiment. Nope. And according to Robert Sapolsky, it determines you have no free will. And according to a bunch of people who disregard their self-righteousness batons passed around from their traumatized child. Again, anyone in hypervigilance who doesn't want out distress is something that is not appealing to my body, but my body doesn't need to because I do use stress. That's what it's called when you're mindfully living and loving, when you do mindsight skills, because it's not hard to sift through sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, and to know how to use your brain bilaterally and vertically and overall to the ownership of your sense of self. My child parts, they're not charged, they're all here. When they come up, they're not orphaned. Maria, the grown-up, takes care of them, and that's because a safe haven, secure base is what I am as a securely attached, non-traumatized human being. And FYI, when you meet the polyamory, the ones of us who are securely attached, that's when you're going to meet somebody who knows love. Other than that, monoamory, polyamory, really, if they're not knowing how to love themselves first, they could use Terra Real so that they could learn that. Because functional adults are fun to be companions because they're not testing each other, they talk. Actively, nobody's talking in their brain without talking in the face. So see, when I meet the pause self who need Terry Real or Patrick Tiahan, they're all called facades and cowards, and in fact they do trauma time, which is why nobody's testing an empowered feminine. An empowered feminine is a healthy self-worth, empowered woman, man, or they. It means I know that you will not be treating me in any way, shape, or form with shame, blame, fault, or revenge. And if you find me stupid because I use words my way, it's okay. There's a door. A whore because you think polyamory means whore? Okay, great again. Oh, wait. Do you live the medieval times? Are you waiting for marriage? Are you deciding that you're going to use ignorance? Okay, that might not be you, but let's remember there are people who have only ignorant human beings around them, and 3D-4D is not going to go away. So with that being said, let us allow ourselves to respect the conscious choice in the year 2025 of our split being. Some people will believe in the restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating pursuits, and others will not. Some will believe in getting their brain integrated and their ownership of the sense of self. Some will not, and some will think they have it. And guess what I will know? I will know if they do or don't the minute that they meet, lo and behold, shit in their face from somebody who they will say betrayed me. I forgave them. Okay, so that's the cue of, okay, no, you didn't forgive. You're still very upset, which is fair and square because we all have emotions and thoughts when things take place. But if we're functional child adults, and so we do forgive, the 5D collective forgives Christ consciousness. I began this as a teenager, though, so I've been having a lot of practice. I will consistently be consciously aware as I metabolize year after year, because ascension energies bring up stuff, that which will have taken place in Maria's life with unknowns, uncertainties, unexpecteds, and unwanteds. But because my heart stays open and the flow state is what my brain is in, lo and behold, it's really fun to embody eustress, to therefore have good stress, not bad. Your body's always going to be moving, and to know how to be a master of your emotional plane and mental plane and physical plane. So the 5D collective that will be coming to IHP, they like to navigate ascension energies, thoughts, emotions, and to be their self, and they don't want to perpetuate trauma. But we also know that it's a choice for people to go heal. So it's just not a demon. We don't call Lucifer out for anything. In fact, if Lucifer were someone, I would be very ashamed. This is the part, as a mystic who does come with God, I told God at 19, no Lucifer, just cowards. It wasn't even about evil. Now I have Michael Stone's forensic criminologist scale. Sure, the people who want to talk to me about movies, about murders, about all this, sure, got it. They all need therapy. Pretty straightforward. I know Peter Levine, Bessel van der Kolk. It's a sad story to know that those first 3 years of life were shit, and that fear navigates every single one of those human beings. I don't have anything to say to fear except for, wow, enlightened ones remind us of soul contracts. And as a mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, which tells me, what was it? Love, pure consciousness. Fear, I'm going to say, probably partner to pure consciousness. But those who want to have a superhero, supervillain, they get to equate those into groups. Who wants to be a superhero? Wait a minute. What were those teenagers like who tried to be cool and weren't really cool at all, but just continued to be copycats of each other? Hey, Peter Pan, are you having a good time? Having fun? So pause self, they wear masks. They don't know how to be their own differentiated self, you see? So as a 3-year-old who's a differentiated self, but I come with a twin. So I need to explain myself because I come with a twin where I said, I am not the same. No, my mother, you're different, not better, not worse. So that's why Robert Sapolsky with Determined makes a good point. No free will. I haven't read it yet, but the basis is you have been building upon those first 3 years of life. Mine is full of gooiness. The ones who find it yucky won't be at IHP. That's okay. We don't find it yucky that they suffer. We actively find it very irritating, frustrating, and God keeps telling me not to judge it because I find cowards irritating and frustrating. And I have compassion thanks to therapists who have informed me muscles, bones, and tissues store their trauma. Self-loathing, gut wrench comes out of the pores of every single human being. Anytime ascension energies come about, shit come up, and people will be either metabolizing it or playing trauma time on a wheel. And that's what I've been witnessing since 2007. So I can tell you all about 3D-4D. I thought they'd go somewhere. They're not. And that's officially because, again, they think they don't have a past self as they prance around with mantles. Elsa, have fun with Wendy and Peter Pans. In the meantime, the 5D collective are grounded in reality, which is why we don't give a shit if people don't like how we use words, but we will stop using words that we use erroneously and try to remember it because we do like being grounded in reality. So ascension energies, again, they bring up everything. Now, if your beliefs are not falsifiable, Maria isn't a fact. There's no facts here. There's food for thought, lady. I learn from smart human beings. I know who they are, and they're the ones who have all the bibliographies, not me. I chose not to go to academia on purpose. Meaning I did until my master's degree. Then for my PhD, I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to do that. And now that I have seen that there's ego everywhere, you really slow down the creative process of somebody who has a consilience approach. So I look forward to seeing more academics and those of us who are outside on YouTube just bringing it all in because our brain is integrated to the point of where we don't get confused. The only people who, you're confused in science spirituality, they got half a brain working. They're talking over me. That's just rude. But they're pause self with a adaptive child who needs to prove to themselves that they're right. And in the meantime, I don't give a shit if you're right or wrong because I ain't talking to you to get anything. Again, different doesn't mean better or worse. I got rejected at 4, went home crying. I can still get rejected and I won't be going home crying. I might shed a tear or two. I got really good practice learning how to be myself. Yes, because I wasn't going to copy dumb teenagers. When they booed me for homework that I asked about on Friday, I didn't flinch because if they had touched me, I would have gone and ratted them out. To this day, people say, you don't know the horrors of life. Yeah, that's true. I don't, and I hope not to. And when I do hear about the research and how people end up in the horrors of life, you know what I hear? What was it, Patrick Chahan? What happens to a child who has childhood trauma? They will go in the arms of anyone who will take them just so that they can be loved. So again, it's very clear why we have 3D-4D collective, and it's very clear that it's not a Lucifer, demon, or monster. No, it's actively people who are ignorant. So some of us are not ignorant, although we will be called stupid and we will be called whores and a lot more, but it's okay. Because again, those who have class, we can curse all we want. We don't even have to dress pretty. Class means that you're honorable inside. Integrity means that you know discernment. You also know the difference between when somebody's bringing people together versus bringing them into, I want my group to follow me and put me on a pedestal. Ah, hell. And when you see that, you're like, whoa, okay, somebody obviously needs support to figure out that they're not needing to have a pedestal. Because anybody who needs one, well, again, ego is very easy to spot when it's trying to be grandiose. And grandiose is a coward who doesn't know self-empowerment. Healthy self-worth means I accept that I'm crooked. Being able to be at ease. Not everybody likes eustress. In fact, not everybody likes the ventral vagal state. No, I'm not laughing or smiling because it's funny. They actively don't want to be in the ventral energy. And the fancy lady in suit thinks that the modern day therapists are trying to imprison you and have you have no emotions. Equanimity is common-centered, and discernment means good judgment without the charge. It's what's good and wise. It's also meaning that I can be aware of what I have as weaknesses, as strengths, and all that. And then I can embody a consistent level of, again, calm. That's because self-regulation involves your own capacity to use your brain, your heart, your body, and your mind. Again, we each come with a different story. My soul comes with a story. Maria, empowered feminine. I chose my family. I chose my oversoul, and every single step of the way, when I didn't know everything, I was like, I know I'll find out more. Because as a mystic, I don't have questions because I already have an answer. God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. Very straightforward. Spirituality added to Maria. Akash added to Maria. Energetic imprint added. Not confusing. Guess who gets confused when more than one thing is put in a little box? Yeah, left mode. So the left mode gets rigid. That's where ego's at. I can tell when my ego's in town. It has a, so if I had to describe to it sounds like, but remember, I have inner growth mindset. I don't have an inner critic because I don't do let me give Maria shit. I did once a pity party and I'm like, what are you talking about? You got a twin, you got a mom. What is this? Your teenage friends are doing it. Are you going to copy their dramaticness? Really? No. And that's why my teenage friends are like, you have no emotions. I was like, yes, I do. I'm just not making a big deal. One person, there's 8 billion men out there. You think you're going to, there's going to be more. I learned. It's not true that the first teenager boyfriend was the most. No. Love is the same across the whole board. That's polyamory, securely attached people. Why? Because our oxytocin gene hormone, that's why. But bonds are special. And those are changing always. Why? Because of the investment. But also because you need to have men who know how to commit and women who know how to thrive and to have, well, let's just put theys in the mix too, but I don't know any empowered men, women, and theys will not be confused about what secure attachment and healthy self-worth people are. Because, you can perceive what is real. What is love? That does not involve hypervigilance. That's actually something that is a small frequency. And that's why 3D-4D, they're busy being superheroes, supervillains, because they need to feel empowered. Okay, so long story short, the kingdom of God is within you. Thank you, Jesus. The seed of enlightenment is in every one of us. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as he shares, we have to become sensitive to life, not to our thoughts, emotions, egos, ideologies, or belief systems, because life is the highest value. A past self cannot do that. If your beliefs are not falsifiable, if there's no scenario that could convince you that your most cherished opinions are in error, then that's proof that you did not get them by being in contact with reality. Sam Harris. Maria is a human being who's 45, who can tell you everything she's learned from anywhere and everything, and my mysticism and spiritual experiences are not provable. What I do know is provable is empirical data, which has been building and building and building and building of what trauma does to human beings' brain. And the ones who don't want to believe it, well, again, I have no place for idiots. Cowards are very clear to me, which is why I don't surround myself with any of them, which is also why, I won't find myself in shitty situation. I have learned that our lovely planet is full of people who need help. It's not a monster, though, which is why anybody who's continuing to use Lucifer's name and that story doesn't know of Michael Stone and a forensic criminologist he is. And they could do better with their usage of, let me not dehumanize people who need a therapist. Because the reality is when you're dehumanizing, you distance yourself and you're able to allow yourself to be in a little charge, which is unnecessary. As you continue to divide the world into good and bad, when what we have are healthy, self-worth, empowered human beings who are actively discerning. So they are the brave ones because some of them went to therapy, others didn't need to. The cowards are the ones who continue to actively, you know how you can spot the cowards? Here's how you spot him. Here's the studies of my colleagues. Look, I have proof. Narcissism isn't healable. They're all against me. Wow, now I have a cheerleader or not. That's how you can tell when you got somebody who's not really reading to you shit, but that there's a charge. Also, what you have is another end of the charge, if you will, and these are the societal soul age group. I'm in the enlightenment soul age group, so their charge is important because they each will have groups go to them. In the other instance, we have people who are very, very, very upset apparently at scientists and don't believe in any of them anymore because of the number of people who are within that field that just do things for money. But again, all or nothing and generalized statements are very clear to the enlightening brain. You are upset. When you're upset, that means you're tainting shit. I can get upset too, yes, with suffering. Always. Because again, wasting time in your brain doing nothing except for go to Patrick Tian. Here you go. I gave you a solution. You don't have money? There's plenty of people who will freely volunteer. That still isn't enough. You know why? Anybody live in poor environments? I don't. With crime, with rape, with all, okay? So I mean, just, this is why it's not a one-stop solution. There isn't a solution. There is, we got people. And so the 3D-4D collective aren't doing anything that is going to be deemed something, oh my God, no, because they're actively holding space for the ones who want to live their hypervigilant state. Human beings suffer their own memory and imagination. That is, they suffer that which does not exist. Not true, Sadhguru. From the fetus to your first 8 years of life, you will have experiences. It's called the first 3 implicit memories and then explicit memories. Then your imagination is your neuroplastic agent, which is why it's unfortunate that Sadhguru didn't get psych-educated, because he would be able to add, which is what I'm doing right now. So a brain, mind, and body is what you are, and the 4D, well, they think that 4D mystics don't exist, and I laughed when I saw that because I was like, you're it. And in fact, a person proved my point when they said, it's thanks to my subliminal messages that you go and are being able to tap into. How dare you? I don't want to let you know how much effort I put into this. Wow, did you want a reward for all the videos you've been doing? I didn't realize that you actively, that's a charge again. So when we're upset, which is fair and square, that's called, I want to get bystanders to take my side and go punish. Yeah, that's actually the 4th step to healing trauma. So trauma means that you have a charge. But if you are a person who handles emotions and thoughts, they're not trauma for you. You see, it's why twin flames, no trauma. Actually, masculines frustrate the fuck out of me because it's not about men. Oh, distorted feminines, they are the same. This is why, again, God keeps telling me not to judge human suffering. Love is a quality. Love is not what you do. Love is what you become. Pure consciousness is unconditional love. When you embody it, it's because you've chosen it. Oh, it's not a special gift. It's actively, again, I got lucky. And that's why whoever you meet, speak to them like it is the last time you may have that opportunity. It will transform your life. Once you become aware that you are mortal, you will not be dead serious about anything but eager to live as intensely as possible. Thank you, Sadhguru. These are a bunch of his quotes. Without transforming individual human beings, there will be no transformation in the world. Being human means to consciously do the best you can for everyone and everything you come in touch with. The sad news is that it doesn't matter if I am unconditionally loving. When I say I can show you a whole new world, Jasmine, Aladdin, whatever your name is, and I am in my ventral energy, as Deb Dana and Stephen Porges point out, and Dr. Daniel Fox and Dr. Daniel Siegel, there will be a number of ways. No, there's only 2. You welcome me and your whatever's going to come up, or you don't. And the first 3 years, well, if you have a fragmented self, or an invisible self, or a self that was cut off from their emotions, I get to play with facades. And that's why Cusco, what's up, man? I'm Pacha. I don't take my word back because you played some trick on me. I just know that you're a person who could use somebody to help you heal from what happened to you, which makes me sad. The first years of attachment trauma information, I would cry my eyes out after these courses because I was like, oh my God, there's a bunch of people who are just suffering again and again and again, which I had already gathered thanks to my entire oversoul. And all of these people, again, they are doing just great and dandy like my facade friend. Ask me. God keeps telling me to mind my own business like my mother did when I was a kid growing up. And why do people not like a person like me? Well, because when you speak the voice of truth, it's not truth because it's my truth. No, as a person who brings to you data that I don't make up out of my asshole, but that I have gathered, I bring to you an outline of what could be something called a solution. But what adaptive child part people don't want is that, because they're right and you're wrong, they know what to do and you're not taking their side, and then there's a bunch of other stuff going on, which is their 0 to 8 year old. So they're playing out their childhood while they're interacting with you. It's called trauma time, which is why it's not personal. It's also why, as Jesus says, forgive, blessed are those who believe without seeing. Again, also our lovely Sadhguru talks about accepting people, and any enlightened one, but also Stephen Porges, biologically rude people don't know what they're doing. Dr. Daniel Fox explains very well what happens when somebody has split thinking and black and white, and so does Kylie. She's healing from narcissism, and she's also healed from borderline personality. So again, there's no monsters. There are people who actively have emptiness, void, suffering. Can they do something? Yes, they can. If they follow assholes in suits, well, they won't be going that far. But again, they will be consistently surrounded by 2 groups of people: those who talk to them about being able to be in their ventral vagal state and how that works and how that feels and how that looks like. And if they want to keep calling secure attachment boring, that's bullshit. It's not boring, but it will be different than when you're in a hypervigilant state. So it's about being able to harness a little bit of this and a little bit of that, which is where for me it was all a high for getting into more and more of eustress, because embodying pure consciousness is what I already knew as I began my life, because I didn't get ruptured thanks to my 3-year-old, meaning I didn't get a broken Maria. So my child parts, they're tended to by the teenager version that didn't stay charged, and so the higher self of me is in the lead. That's why the prefrontal cortex is engaged. If Robert Sapolsky's right, then we will have our groups, and that's why 3D-4D, not good, not bad. I mean, again, trauma charges muscles, bones, and tissues. And then let's think of environments, and then let's think of countries. And so life is too short to, 1, make it a stop shop of anything. 2, groups come together so that we can enlighten and continue to expand. 3, our lovely human evolution and consciousness has consistently done this, and we're in the time of change right now. So hypervigilance and dysregulated embodiment states are not going to go away, because we have people who actively live them, and some for very specific reasons, like not being in safe spaces because their country isn't safe, and so on and so forth, which is where empowered brains are discerning, because they don't do a teenager black and white thinking. It's a bullshit statement, which is also why we don't make a big deal out of how we come together because we have the bigger picture in mind. So we care about being able to get more. Consilience approach is amazing. That's what I look forward to, being consistently in me and meeting academics like that, and not just academics, entrepreneurs, because the brains that are of our 5D collective are able to bring it all in, see connections, because we're not pissy about it touching each other. I mean, seriously, it's basically like having a excuse me, you're confusing science spirituality. That doesn't happen to a brain that is able to conceptualize something, because you're not picky in a rigid way of I'm an identity, you're not identifying with it. In fact, that's why with God, Akash, source, they all mean different things. My relationship with God is specific, Akash is different, and they have an energetic imprint. It's also, I didn't get taught more. I did some dabbling in mysticism, spiritual, all those books and all that stuff, but I don't need the in-depth version of it. Like with Sadhguru, he didn't get the in-depth version of I forget what. Okay, so we each have our areas of expertise and or interest. My interest is your human makeup. So embodied brain is where I get to bring to you ascension energies, bring shit up, and you get to metabolize them or not. 3D-4D are going to continue to come together as that one man who said people need silverbacks. We don't need a silverback, but we do know where to find Peter Pans with Pinocchios and Lost Boys and Wendy's, and they're having a good time. And we'll come together and have a good time ourselves. But yeah, empowered individuals choose love, and then they choose to know we always will have fear, because it's part of our body. Our body would be not a body without it. And so the panic attacks. Ascension energies, that was the hardest part for me personally as I expanded, but I'm going to say that it's nothing compared to what I have consistently seen since 2007. 3D-4D continuing the same shit. The 5D obviously expanding, and that's why Dharma people are doing a great deal of expanding right now. The ones who are still doing karma, they're giving their little choice points And I say little because I need to contemplate a little bit more to see how much more of what the shift is bringing. So right now, the clear split to me is yes, our 5D collective welcomes restorative embodiment. Whether you use the word or you don't, it's a mindfully living life. It's a I want to anchor into my ventral state. It's actually quite organic. Or again, therapeutic, depending on how you come in. 3D-4D, completely no. Yeah, that's not true. Ooh, yucky, I don't want that. Okay, and that's not good or bad. They actively aren't called to equanimity, to discerning tones. They're not called to bringing in a state of ventral vagal because it's a softer way. The anger isn't expressed in the way of the sympathetic. So if you're looking for the same expression, the visceral, I have a friend of mine, as he continued to expand his light body, at a certain point he said, Maria, it's not the same like the first time. I said, yes, and it won't be. As you continue to expand, you will get familiar with that which is grace, bliss, that which is ease, that which is akash, that which is source, that which is, for some of us, heaven. Now this is you get familiar because you're building resiliency with your ventral vagal state and that ventral vagal toning and your restored embodiment. So you're integrating more and more. Okay, so you begin to experience life in what is not drama. And the person stopped coming to sessions. They don't want more. They want to be able to continue existing from the lower frequency. That is what they're familiar with. That is what they like. And I've seen people in my courses with attachment trauma saying, we have to stay modulated. And the blank, faces of people like, because of what it does to your body. But again, that's the part of why it's a free will choice. Once the information has been shared, law is not going to make it obligatory for you to get restorative embodiment. Actively, I don't believe law will make obligatory therapy because, law keeps us safe from each other. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just saying I wouldn't think at all of law as you have to go, and also they're divisive. The schools of thoughts. So we have sciences and groups that are divisive. The spiritual community, they've been divisive because of religious groups not wanting to come together. Divisiveness happens because of those identities and people wanting to stay all in only their, 10 items. That's it. They don't like it being flexible. That's the controlling left mode brain of a person. It's not actively something you're going to be unfamiliar with. Again, excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. No, I'm fucking not. But for your brain, I am. Which is why when my facade friend called me a hypocrite because I say this and that are true, I was like, no, I'm not. But wait, your way of thinking makes sense. So when you can understand subjective life, it's because I have a subjective experience. My thoughts, emotions, they're not effective realism, meaning I don't believe them to be facts. That's smart people. And that's also egos that are stable and actively empowered. So it's I'm able to put all that is mine to the side and be here as a person, in my case also as a mystic and a spiritual enlightened being, and tell you, yeah, you do know when you get to the enlightenment soul age group, and it doesn't feel cocky to say it. No, it's actually just like, wow, Sadhguru answered the question a long time ago, and this is very, very interesting how he said, you'll know, you won't ask, because it's true. And also when you see people who are flatline, enlightenment is boring. No, they're in the spirituality soul age group. The different soul age groups is where people continue to learn about their self. But furthermore, because the enlightenment soul age group will be chirpy. I'm not saying it because I want them to be chirpy in the sense of always happy. No, it's that they have their ventral vagal toned. They're using their prefrontal cortex and they're able to capacitate more than one subject matter, whatever it is. I'm just saying they're a discerning, equanimous human being. And no, they will not be talking about themselves embodying any kind of divinity per se, because really, again, when you're using those words and saying that I would have to embody that, it sounds kind of egoic. Doesn't anybody find that needing to make human being a divinity almost sounds like when they were saying the sun and the earth? The earth is what is the main. So the 3-year-old wants that attention. You see what I'm saying? Very straightforward. So people don't like to hear that we are all the same and that there's two groups of 3-year-olds. There's the ones who are actively having a good time from inside, and then there's the ones who are actively, well, again, breaks my heart. But they don't believe in the scientists or in Patrick McNamara and there being no demons. Nope, they continue to let those stories take over. I mean, I've told people about neuroscientists. They say, oh, everyone has something to believe in. I saw demonic possession. I know what you saw. Again, I'm a mystic. I understand. But you don't say neuroscience. Everyone has something to believe in. You say the woo lady, right? So that's the part of why it's very fun to be here with you all. Again, the split clear. I already knew it would happen. I just didn't have all the answers to how to start and continue to organize our lovely community. So being our true selves means us being healthy self-worth people who do accept differences. We don't go pointing out to people anything of the, oh, you have trauma. That's not nice. And also facades are just as fun as anybody else. Cusco hangs out with Pacha. Pacha hangs out with Cusco. We got Manny, Diego, Sid. So we all have flaws and imperfections. Let's unconsciously love each other and support society to continue expanding, follow the laws. Of course, there are things that will be deemed not okay. That's why we have laws and systems. As for spirituality, yeah, it's not something provable, but FYI, scientists want to disprove reality. So, I mean, right now what we have is a bunch of people who are completely going to, like, everything. I mean, when I heard Dr. Daniel Siegel talking about being chased down the hallways, I was like, wow. But then I keep hearing these scientists who are completely using their words, so it's this is exactly why nobody needs to come telling us of spirit how to talk about shit. But they won't like those of us who bring it all together, because that's how it works. The left brain doesn't like that there's messy pieces. They want it to be organized, and then there's a lot more behind it. So again, remember, allow yourselves to consistently keep in mind, one, we have subjective experiences. Anytime I'm interacting with a person, if they begin to get upset, I am 4'9", so technically I can be afraid of them. But as I'm growing up and I'm becoming a person who's aware that I have a way of thinking and feeling and all of it, I'm just more aware of, okay, I want to understand. The functional adults, they talk about things and they allow themselves to wait until the emotional heat is over, or when they are heated, like when I get heated, I definitely know I'm not going to be at my best performance, and I better just either calm or shut myself up for a minute, because I will not be able to use my mouth effectively as my hippocampus begins to get saturated with cortisol, because my sympathetic is active as well, because I'm beginning to get agitated, and that's the why of being dumped down. You're dumped down because you're getting emotional, and then you're no longer going to be able to continue what is a interaction. So no matter whether it's social events, or in fact if it's even bigger, that's why it's even more important, people who consider themselves desiring to bring forth their best foot, it's not about control. No, you controlling is the babiest of steps of anything. It's mastery. Mastering means anytime you're in the interaction, you're going to be aware of it. That's what I love about mindfulness and mindset skills. And then it is the opportunity, and it's not that straightforward, because again, you can easily surround yourself with the group of people that you'll have smooth sailing, which gives you less opportunity to interact in a way that will allow yourself to practice. But at the same time, it's not like we have to. So every day is 24 hours. One, ascension energies bring up stuff that you get to present. If you're doing your true self, then you're going to be experiencing it with Dharma, which is really fun. And we'll have more conversations on that. The ones who are doing karma is not going to be as fun, but they, like that Zen master, continue to talk about suffering. So the reality is you can't make people use their prefrontal cortex. You also can't make them believe that their first 3 years of life and that implicit memory, all those sensations, are something that they could tend to. Also, the somatic therapist taught every single one of us who would cry after class and during class and be just so sad for all these human beings. They said, don't worry, the body's taking them home to their true self, and the brain is healing itself too. So if they welcome their healing, you and I, we're each our own healer. The one thing I found disrespectful immediately as I had been open up to Claire's was, we're anointed. No, we're not. We are saviors. No, Jesus was the savior, and wow, really? You are looking more and more like you think that maybe you are. Wow, okay, I really need to go right now, because that's not cool. And my eyes will not be able to hide what I'm thinking, because I am actively thinking, ego, I see you, but you don't have the capacity to be so aware of yourself that you won't hear me. So she just is jealous of me, or she just is evil, or whoever knows. I don't do any of that conversation, because the minute I realize somebody who is talking to me about God, Jesus, or Holy Spirit, or angels, or any of it, and they're making it as if they are needed and indispensable, we are not. I'm not indispensable to any of those of you out there. I am happy to be here, yes, but I'm not needed for you to connect to source or your spirit or your soul. Some people aren't even believers. So to consciousness, no, you get to choose that, and that will depend on when you will get your first opportunity to become aware of what you were brought in with, though, which is why the therapists are the smart ones, the good ones, the ones who are updated on all the body and brain and mind stuff, who can talk to you about psychoeducation. Obviously, I love that Sadhguru's out there, because he gives you everything to get that lovely embodied brain with the ventral vagal and stuff. But here's where mindfulness practices are important to be taken seriously, because if you have muscles, bones, and tissues with trauma stuff and that shit comes up, it is better for you to have a journey with a Pat Ogden sensory motor, or an EMDR child parts work somatics, somebody who is going to walk you through reparenting and owning your inner child, and learning how to self-regulate and expand the window tolerance to emotions and affect, because otherwise shit comes up. And as Patrick McNamara points out, decentralizing of the self takes place for those of us who have spiritual and mystical experiences. That's how they explain it. Doesn't disprove our stuff, but still they have an explanation, which isn't something bad. Actively, there are those who need support, like schizophrenia. One lady, I remember, she was being interviewed and she said, my teacher told me I was special. Had she not told me, I could have gotten to a doctor and gotten help. So she was upset that her teacher called her special, saying, you are a voice for the angels. And this is why it's not black and white. These conversations are not one or the other. It is actively taking mental health seriously, and emotional and physical, and all of our human well-being and our society. So no one stop shop for anything. And obviously clairs, we all know of them. But again, the brain is an important embodied brain organ. So science shows that it heals itself. And when I hear esoteric lady trying to explain it, when she explained how to break free from when we break free from the fourth dimension, I remember, and I talked about it in one of my podcasts, but what I remember even more was learning about decentralizing of the self with Patrick McNamara. And I said, that was, because I had an experience at a certain point moving out of the 4D bandwidth, the way she explains it. And with Patrick McNamara, I can expand and say Maria expanded herself and more. And in fact, this was where it was very humorous, though, because the way it went down was I had a conversation in a matter of, that's it, with God. And then I laughed at myself because I thought of a movie that I watched a long time ago, and it made me, in that moment, feel like this movie. And that was where I was so happy that I had finally come across a bunch of attachment trauma educators, because the 4D just kept on talking about the same shit over and over and over again. And I kept noticing these people are not embodying more light bodies. They're just becoming spiritual bypassers. They're just continuing to create groups. They're just continuing to talk about being saviors, and they're not. They're healers, and they're not. They're just continuing to wear cloaks, meaning identities, not the cloaks of the other cloak people. Put those to the side. I mean, they're all... So 3D-4D is going to continue hanging out together, because they are able to capacitate a very small bunch of pieces of information, while those of us who have expanded to embody more, it's why polyamory, you all whores, you all, promiscuous. They keep using words from ancient times, and they are not all trying to come together, but saying you're not poly enough, or saying how dare you not accept me, that doesn't help either. So when people are shouting at each other and they're that different, what we have are polar opposites who are shouting at each other, so they want to stay divided. That's sad, but that's their choice too. What we have is now our third group, or the one in between, the 5D, who can try to say, yeah, okay, we'll figure it out, as we always have, by the way. So infinity and beyond. And that's why I have a double infinity, because at the end of the day, that is actually how it always... And now I'm talking again from mystic Maria stuff, but it's humorous. It almost feels sometimes like a dream. Like, you asked me as a 15-year-old, would I have ever thought to have clairs? No. Would I ever thought to be talking about stuff like this? Not really. But I do love it. I love it. It's a rainbow of colors. So we will be back with more. Again, the 5D Collective expands. We stay grounded in reality. We don't negate science. We don't negate our spiritual experiences. We also don't say it's a black and white thing. It's not one or two or threes. It's 10s, 20s, 40s, 50s. Nobody has the right or wrong anything. And when they don't like how we use words, you know what? We are imperfect. I fuck up words all the time. And yeah, I also fuck up data. And that's why I'm cool with the whole woo-woo pseudoscience, because what I'm even more cool with, I know who empirical data people are, how they talk, how they will come together. And anyone who wants to bring in entrepreneurs or private, sure, keep it coming. I'm going to know where I find the actual peer-reviewed and what I'm looking for as a person who is smart and knows the body of people who are actively subject matter experts versus the ones who are giving me their food for thought as human beings who are of different professions. And so it's a very straightforward for those who are into learning knowledge. That which was from yesterday, that which is right now, and that is not going to be dismissed. But we won't be making it a big deal to be using words. So when I was in academia, I was a lot pickier with this stuff because of having to do research papers. That's one of the things why I was like, but wait a minute, you're still telling me there's a difference between quantitative, qualitative, empirically needing to prove. This is going to take me a lifetime, which is why I honor, thank you, Stephen Porges, for continuing his empirical data research for the polyvagal theory. So we have 8 billion people, each person, and every group does its own thing. That's the other part. Human evolution, expansion of consciousness. Again, society has been through this before. 5D Collective. We are here to come together and continue what we were already doing in the first place. Internet simply allowed us to be able to now identify the groups that we resonate most with. Keeping our laws is what's most important. Our countries, our whole globe. I think of the earth. Okay. And so, yeah, in this lovely year, 2025, I knew where we were headed. And this split is pretty much, in my book, going to be one of two groups. The ones who can bring it all in and the ones who like to keep it separate. And they will have their role. If they weren't that thorough in their divisiveness, so their lack of capacity to be connected to pure consciousness means they're enamored with themselves. One focus, those two brains actively are needed. Because those two brains will do a lot of work. They're also the doomsdayer, the doer, the hostile, the ghosts, the are we good? So this is where if I have to organize, I can totally tell you how each of groups of people come together and support, which is where it doesn't make me happy. I still think of the fact that they don't have love. They have suffering in their body. But that Zen master, he says, hey, no, it's actually what life is. So they have an answer to it. It's you always are going to suffer life. And there's another group. And so, yeah, people who have that level of thought process, they make use of suffering to expand, to grow, and they'll come together and motivate each other that way. The ones of us who say, yeah, no, you don't have to suffer, you can love. We come together and have the capacity to motivate each other in a different way. And so again, as I continue to expand, navigating ascension energies, when it's in Dharma, it's done where you are consistently moving more and more towards your eustress, towards ease. When it's done in karma, means you will, at a certain point, stagnate somewhere and you will have chosen, and then you're maintaining a very specific frequency because you're beneath. This is how Maria is sharing it with you. It's not, don't write it down, but it's definitely beneath the neutrality belt because you're in your little sympathetic and you don't like the word neutrality and you don't want to be equanimous and you don't want to be able to navigate a surfboard, okay? You like to be able to navigate roller coasters. And that's why it's a choice. And that's why it's also not something to judge, because it isn't your personal body and your personal beginning to life and all of that. It is something called I choose me. You will have chosen you, or maybe will not have chosen anything. If Robert Sapolsky's right with the term, no free will. We just came with our first 3 years and we kept building, and there you go. So I guess, I do believe we have free will. But again, that's my personal subjective opinion. And we'll be back with more. Have a good one.